plenty of fans here, Brett, and a solid second-place finish.
Yeah, I got to shout out the Turn 2 Terribles over there. They're all a bunch of good guys to hang out with, talk to. I really like them.
All right, what's going on, everyone? Turn Two Terribles here. I'm Jimmy Barr with Josh Aaron and Chris Lynn. Welcome on in. This is episode 9 of the podcast. We got a lot to talk about. We got Pocono that just happened. Chris and myself were there being a bunch of degens inside the infield. Great time, great weekend, a little hot, but some great racing action. All 4 races were pretty fantastic. A lot of controversy after the race, a lot of controversy still, a lot of silly season stuff to catch up on, as well as a little bit of dirt stuff. First, just how you guys doing? Josh, we haven't seen you in a little bit. None of us have been here for a while, but you know, we're back here.
Back at it, back on the grind.
Back on the grind, man. Back on the grind. You know, how about you, Chris? How you doing? Are you recovered?
Not fully. Still hot. We're at the peeling stage. Slowly rehydration stage.
Should have used that sunscreen, man. Should have used the sunscreen.
No, that's not what DJs do. No water, no sunscreen.
It's a mistake when it's 98 degrees out, but
I was not the one in danger Sunday morning. I was the only one in good shape. So figure it out, bud.
That's a lie, bud. That's a lie, bud.
We have to call in witnesses. We'll call in witnesses.
We called in the Josh Aaron on Thursday night when we got there. I got to say, so I camped at Pocono years ago. I go pretty much every year, and I have never seen... there was still room for a lot more people. I shouldn't say a lot more people, but there's still room for more people, but I've never seen it like that since I went in the 90s as a kid. I don't remember, and me as a kid too probably remembered it bigger than it actually was, but I've never seen it like that. Camping, we went on Thursday thinking, oh, we're going to go early. We'll get our pick at a litter spot. You know, we'll be good. It'll probably be pretty tame. We'll just get some of the early people. Most people will come in Friday. Nope.
We should definitely break down how this all started on Thursday. Like, I thought Jimmy was kidding when I'm making up time with him because he got lost, but it was like a border crossing is what it would look like from like a movie or real life. I don't know.
They had dogs sniffing the cars. They had people looking in. They
were going up in RVs and shit. Like, 8 wide. Took 45 minutes, I think, and we got there towards the tail end. So
so I screwed up. I went in the normal way that I would normally go into the infield. I went down Long Pond, and there I saw one sign. I didn't catch it on what gate you're supposed to go to. So I'm like, I'm just going to go straight to the tunnel turn. That's usually what you do. Because when I went a couple years ago, there was a trailer there on that road on the left. You went in, checked in real quick, and you drove right in. No problem. And I went on Friday that year. So this is Thursday afternoon, like 3:30, 4 o'clock. And it is bumper to bumper traffic. I go down the wrong road. I finally get to the tunnel turn. They're like, you got to go register. I'm like, this, okay. So I got to go all the way back. After I waited about half hour, 40 minutes in that line just to get turned back around and start back at the beginning. And that was nuts. Like, Chris basically made it there right behind me. And
an hour and a half disadvantage.
yeah. Well, I also stopped to, I also had a pit stop on the way to grab a generator. So, yeah, you basically made up time on me, though.
Pit stops.
And, we're waiting to get through, and it was pretty simple once you got to the gate, but the whole just waiting, we were just tent camping. We didn't have RVs, so there wasn't much shit to go over, really. It's just find a spot, pitch your tent. And
worked out well for us. We got
yeah,
2 spots.
Yeah, we got 2 spots. Now. Yeah, we the spots that we had was we took 2 spots, and that's about the size of the spot was a couple years ago when I went. They went down much more on the tent camping spots because there used to be a lot more tent camping there, but you used to have bigger spots. So you could tell that they were definitely just,
probably expecting a lot of RVs.
Yeah. I can't believe how many people went on Thursday. I figured, all right, Friday would be the day because Friday, ARCA practice wasn't supposed to be to 3 o'clock, and then truck practice, and then the ARCA race was at 5:30, 6 o'clock.
Like 6:30, yeah, which is crazy.
And that was all that was going on Friday. And no, everybody went there on Thursday, which was cool to see. It really. There was a nice party on Thursday night.
Especially the general mission section. We walked miles, a lot of miles.
We walked around the 2.5 mile track at least a dozen times.
Maybe
four times on Thursday, but throughout the weekend at least a dozen times.
But even then, the RV sections and reserve camping, they weren't there yet. But the general mission section, they were packed in heavy come Thursday evening.
Yeah, I was shocked. It's encouraging to see, but it was a little frustrating because it took us about 2 hours to get into the track, and the spots were small. But we ended up having 2 spots, making it 1. Nobody really said anything, so we had all good neighbors. Yeah, we had proper credentials, and everybody around us, everybody was really cool. Wasn't really, there were degenerates.
They were a little off.
Party degenerates. Nobody was an asshole or anything like that. It was who? Who was an asshole?
It was that one guy that wasn't near us, but we can come back to him.
Oh, yeah. He was a little bit of an asshole. So Thursday was fun. Me and Chris got a little white girl wasted.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. And then Friday, that's when the heat started to get turned up. And Saturday and Sunday were brutal, man. It's just so hot. Just trying to find any cover from the sun and any way to cool down. I would have hated to be in the grandstands. I'm glad I didn't go into the grandstands at all because you just bake in those things if you can't get up towards the top of the grandstand. But yeah, I mean, they have a lot of stuff for you to do. They have a whole fanfare on the inside. They have events throughout the day. Plus, with the pit paddock pass, you're able to go and just basically watch practice from the pits if you want to. We're walking around, and all the drivers are walking past us, getting to the car. We bumped into Noah Gregson 2 or 3 times, Daniel Suarez, quite a few of them. So it was pretty cool. It was a fun time. I just wish it wasn't so hot. Chris, you have anything you want to add to that?
I can tell you we found all the degenerates in all of Pocono Mountains Saturday night at the M80 concert. Every single one of them was there in full degenerate mode. It was a good show. The band was good cover band. Colleague Racing was there just hanging out, having a good time. Matt Colleague and Chris Rice. But outside of that little circle that Jimmy and I were standing in, the other part, degenerates, absolute chaos. To the point of I came there Sunday morning, and it looked like a junkyard of handles, shoes, beer cans. Like, what in the hell has happened here?
Yeah, it got. I didn't. You would have thought it was Limp Bizkit at Woodstock '99, not an '80s cover band.
Fury took 3 different people out during the show.
Yeah, it was.
They started getting weird with their chants. I rolled back to the campsite. Jimmy, you witnessed them flipping benches and tables and shit.
Yeah, yeah, it was nuts. And we bumped into my aunt, who was the one that gave the bass player of that band a ride. And
I thought you were gonna say the one that was getting carried up by security.
no, she was just relaxing, and she's like, she hasn't seen the band in a couple years, only came up because I was giving the ride to the bass player and everything, and really, really talented band. They were very, very good. But I did not expect a crowd. I don't know if it's just because it was so late on night, on Saturday. Because once, I think,
9:30.
yeah, I think with it being so hot, especially, I know for me, like, I didn't really, sipped on some.
We got bullied all day for not drinking enough, but that's
yeah. We were drinking, but not drinking like crazy. And then kind of as soon as the sun went down, that's kind of when we went
too hard.
Our normal went. No, I wouldn't say too hard. I was fine. I caught up on some sleep. You weren't sleeping very much, that's for sure. You tried to go to sleep. You weren't sleeping very much. As soon as that sun came up, you were baking in your tent.
Right.
So weren't sleeping very much.
The hurricane. We forgot about the hurricane.
Yeah. So Friday.
Just throw a wrench in the whole thing.
We had like a tornado warning or a tornado watch. They canceled truck practice and qualifying, which is what we were getting ready to watch on pit road, and we weren't even able to. Because we had to go back and hold down
So the phone service was still good enough on Friday that you could have contact with the outside world via internet. And we're in there in the pit thing, and we're getting geared up for it. I'm looking at the clouds. I'm like, I don't like that. I'm like, Jimmy, it's going to rain. He goes, no, it's not. I'm like, what does purple mean? And then Jimmy's like, that's not good. I'm like, well, we should probably go that way then, because that's coming right for us.
Yeah. We made it back just in time to hold down everything. We bunkered down. We tarped things off. We had to kind of hold the canopy from flipping, but all in all, it wasn't too bad. And then it didn't really rain again until late Sunday. We got a little shower after the race. Nothing crazy. Yeah. Friday was fun. Saturday got pretty crazy. Sunday was kind of more. And I don't blame people. I understand they have work Monday and stuff like that, but why come and camp all weekend if you're going to leave Sunday during the Cup race? Like, there's people. I understand people that were going to leave like right after, and they packed up their campsite, and then they were leaving right. There's people leaving in the middle of the race, and I'm like,
right.
You came, you paid all this money, and then the Cup race starts, and you're out. Like. There's just so many people that just go there just for the atmosphere, and the atmosphere was pretty good. I thought it was really good. Pocono does a good job of hosting a good event, and they have a lot of stuff to do, and they give you a lot of access, and give you everything that you need to survive a weekend there.
Like one thing I think they missed on, and this could be by design to get people to leave, but like figure that race ended 6:00 Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
There was nothing to do in that infield. They already had everything shut down.
Yeah, everybody was
why
leaving.
not have a post-race concert or something? Maybe not a late one like the night before, but just something to kind of mitigate it, because you already had traffic.
Yeah, you have a lot of traffic, and why not just have people leave?
They do something, a post-race anything.
They could do like a holler parade or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean,
we got woken up. That happened 6:30 Saturday morning, the Cup Holler Parade. So you weren't sleeping because they came right through the infield, right next to the TED section, because there's a road course. And Chris was sleeping because
I could sleep through anything, bud.
The snoring probably blocked it all out.
Same thing.
But they were just like the whole time coming through 6:30. But it was cool. It was cool to see, and everybody was kind of up at it. Like, I was surprised to see how many people out, like, lined up 6:30 in the morning. So
from a podcast, like, social media side, we benefited greatly from that first Holler Parade.
Yeah, the Holler Parade. We got like 100 followers. Shouts out to anybody who might be
from
listening.
India that followed us that time. It was stupid. I think it was 40. It was 45 minutes worth at least, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it started off so much strong. Like, this is kind of crazy. I walked away, and left my phone on a chair. And he goes, "Are you hearing this?" And I had already tuned it out at this point. It was like stupid levels of interaction for 45 minutes. Like ding, ding, ding. I was like, "Jeez." We had to turn the phone volume down so we could
Yeah,
hear
it was annoying. I was ready to smash your phone.
Probably should.
But that was fun. The only negative thing that we had all weekend was just one guy. We went to go watch the truck race. There's parts of where the road course comes out to the track, and they have a gate there. That's not a camping spot. So you can, that's how I've always, when I was in the infield, that's how I've always gone and watched races, was going up to those spots. You can't see much anyway, basically just what's immediately in front of you. That spot was pretty good, though, because you got to see them coming out of turn 1, and you could see them pretty good going into turn 2, so you pretty much had a good third of the track. And we stood there, and, we couldn't, we weren't on anybody's spot. Like, we're just at the end of the pavement at the fence, and this guy came out, he was in his nice air-conditioned RV, not even out watching the race, came out to tell us that we couldn't stand there because we're blocking his view, and he paid all this money to be there when we weren't on his camp spot.
Though.
He didn't say that. He came out like really aggressive. He was like, "You got to move, or I'm calling the security."
As we're
like,
talking
whatever,
to the security
as
guy.
we're talking to the security guy that's standing right there, and there was two NASCAR officials that were in a truck that were sitting there right behind us. So if NASCAR's not going to say anything, NASCAR track officials or the security guy, nobody's going to do anything, bud.
They were rented security, but they did their jobs well. We watched it Thursday night, Friday. You went out of your line. They put you back in it.
Shouts out to the whole Pocono staff and all that security staff. They had their hands full, and they did a fantastic job. Yeah,
3 separate companies for that weekend. Yeah, so that guy may have been Josh Aaron. We don't know. He's one of those guys that probably sits in his RV at Pocono. Look at him smiling over there.
It was one
watching it on the TV inside.
If we were standing on his spot, I totally get it. But he said that we were like blocking his view and stuff. For him to be going inside his RV to go watch it, probably on TV.
We weren't even blocking his windshield.
We weren't. Yeah, there's no way, because they were 10 feet above us. There's no way you're blocking our view.
I'm not that tall, bud.
Yeah,
and you weren't even yelling at us. You were yelling at the shortest one of us.
Yeah, she was yelling at my girlfriend first, which was crazy. It's lucky. Guy's lucky.
You gotta throw hands, boys.
Yeah. Well, lucky that Kim didn't kill him either.
Yeah, Kim would probably
I'd be more worried about her at times than me. But yeah. So let's talk about the races. ARCA was okay. ARCA wasn't bad. I don't really remember too much. We kind of were doing our own thing.
Much of it. We were trying to survive.
Yeah. Truck race.
I think, Josh, did you watch any of these on TV? We did not.
ARCA. I did.
Did you watch Chuck?
ARCA, yeah.
So the truck race, from our vantage point, a lot of crashes early, right? Couldn't really see who they were or what they were.
Todd Bodine got wrecked, but I did see Todd Bodine say he got wrecked by Haley Deegan as a payback for Talladega.
No, he's an idiot.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
From what I saw, he was 3 wide in the middle and pushed her up and spun out. And he's referring to Texas when he wrecked her on the last lap, according to TJ. And
yeah,
DBC,
that's why he's retiring.
What this was like his 800th race or something like that.
Mm-hmm. That was his 800th and final NASCAR start of all time.
Allegedly. There's a chance.
Allegedly.
Hey, Rob.
A-Rob out here saying hello from Shellhammers. What's up, A-Rob?
He was here.
Friend of the show.
Last week.
Friend of the show. Mr. Renegades of Dirt over there. Getting ready to call some races tonight, I guess.
I think he's taking pictures tonight. It's Wednesday.
Taking pictures tonight, whatever.
Yeah, Josh, so from TV side, you got to watch it. We did not see a lot of truck race, to be honest.
Mm-mm.
What do you think?
No, because
honestly, I think that was the worst out of all 3 races.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just kind of so-so. There wasn't really...
He got out there. It seemed like he just ran away. Chandler
Yeah.
Smith, right?
Yeah, it wasn't anything really exciting. And honestly, it was a lot like the Cup race. So, like, a lot of the wrecks were just people getting used to turn 3. Trying to figure out how to get around there and carry some speed.
Xfinity race.
Turn
Go
three
ahead,
was turn three was a treble turn. We were pretty lucky. Wherever we stood, we pretty much saw the wrecks. They were right in front of us, and there was a lot
Right.
coming out of turn one. It seemed like, for the truck race. But turn three was the treble turn for Xfinity and Cup. That's for sure. So the Xfinity race, that was chef's kiss, in my opinion. That was just peak Pocono. You had a little bit of strategy. You had some wrecks. The Jeb Burton thing was nuts.
That was absolutely crazy. It was right in front of both of us.
Yeah. That it was. I never seen a wreck there like that before.
Yes. We were standing right turn 3, and we saw whoever it was got loose, and then you saw like nothing, and then just cars wrecking everywhere.
Yeah. And then, he just got sandwiched into the wall and just got flipped.
I think that was Ferrucci that spun out and kind of caused that.
It was.
Him or Stenhouse caught him.
No, but who spun first to start all that?
I think, yeah.
Yep.
You know, and it was weird because I remember watching his press conference when he got out of the infield care center, and I don't know if it's just because he's not American, but he was like smiling about it. And I'm like, I wouldn't be smiling right now if I just caused that. You know,
hours of damage to
a lot of cars. You know, he was running at the tail end of the top 10. I get it. He was probably having a good run, maybe a surprising run, but I would be more disappointed than anything. I wouldn't be smiling at all. But that could just be his personality, and I'm just reading into that wrong.
That was a really good race. I think all in all, Pocono, I didn't realize going into the race that they had added the grip, the PG1 or whatever they're using.
The resin or whatever they want to call it.
Yeah.
Which I got a picture with my buddy, the Tire Dragon, so that was cool.
Turn 2 was tunnel turn was amazing because they could actually go through there 2 wide and not give up. It made the racing so much better.
Yeah, there's times when I was watching, I'm like, they can't go in. There was times in the Cup race where they're going 3 wide going into that. I'm like, there's no way they can make this work, and they were making it work.
Or Reddick, on the broadcast, like Reddick was passing on the outside in the tunnel turn, and they're like, "You can't do that. He can't do that," and he would do it. And they're like, well, maybe you can.
And I think that's what we saw in the Xfinity race. Like going back to that, like we had that early rash of crashes in the stage 1, and there were short stages to begin with. So it was like you didn't realize how long the race kind of was. It just kind of kept popping off between the cautions, and those laps are long, especially at the track. But it worked out perfectly, and it turned into a gem of a battle for that last stage when the strategy started playing out.
Yep.
Watching Noah Gragson and
Ty
Gibbs do their thing through the field.
Yeah, Ty Gibbs was making some. You could tell because that final restart, they started back like tail end of the top 10, and they were making some. Noah seemed to be passing cars with ease. Ty seemed to be pressing the issue, but he knew as soon as Noah got away, he had to stay with him because that was going to be the battle for the win. Right. They were the cars, I think, with the freshest tires and right. Obviously the fastest cars most of the day.
It looked like, every time Noah made a move with ease, Ty maybe wasn't close enough to follow him through, but he just made sure to follow him through.
Yep. Whenever
he had that momentum to get through there instead of getting jammed up.
And then, Noah had a pretty decent lead. Ty cut into that. That last 25 laps was just awesome seeing Ty just catch him, and then worked lap traffic great. And then the last he was on his bumper for it felt like the last 10 laps, it felt like he was just right on his bumper.
He had him right at one point there with 10 to go. Mm-hmm. And Noah just sent it back around him. And
yeah, he just stuck it on the outside, and I could not believe he got
away again. And I'm like, holy hell. And I'm like, it's over because he's just gone now. And he was a lap car jammed up. Noah somehow got him stacked back up. And then, Ty ran him back down.
To me, it felt like Ty was really weak in the tunnel turn because I noticed his car would bounce a little bit more, and that's where he would lose his time.
I don't remember how many, but I think he was somewhere around 10 lap older tires than Gragson was.
Oh, okay.
So it was impressive that he was hanging with him, but he was on older tires than what Gragson was on. There was one time, I think it was in the tunnel turn, lap 3 to go or something like that. He got to him, and I was like, well, Gregson's going
Yeah.
for a ride.
We had the
Yep.
same thought.
Yeah.
Same thought.
And he didn't. I was like, wow, that's
They
crazy.
raced each other hard. They were
Last 3 laps
scrubbing
were awesome.
speed off each other and everything, trying to side draft.
I don't think they even touched.
I don't think they ever touched.
They side drafted, did everything perfect. What you want to see compared to, we talked about Ty Gibbs here before, and Noah, we know what he did at Road America. It was cool to see them come out and be like, you know what, gloves off, and we're not going to go all the way. We're just going to race hard and clean. That's what we need to see out of them guys. No cars wrecked, and that tunnel turn on the last lap, they both were going for it.
Yep,
hell of a move, but both of them. I mean, Ty got a little loose, I guess, getting in there from what we saw on the big screen, but probably saved both race cars.
Yeah, he had a wiggle on entry a little bit, and that was just enough that it was.
It opened the door.
Yep. I think honestly, I mean that was huge, but I mean, another big one's Josh Berry third. Junior's short track ringer is getting better at things that aren't short tracks.
Yeah, he's figuring it out.
There, we thought he was going to win because he got out front and was gone. But I guess I saw afterwards. I didn't realize at the time Allgaier got a speeding penalty because he was probably the best car most of the day.
Yep.
I like Josh Berry though. He's going to do things.
Yep.
He's one of those guys that the Xfinity Series missed. We talked about it like in the old Busch Series. We get to Jason Kellers and Randy LaJoy's. Josh Berry's that guy. He's doesn't need to go to Cup. No one's like, hey, get the Cup or you suck. He's like, hey, I'm having a great time here. I'm going to be that really good racer that can win races, and that's your measuring stick. You don't need a Kyle Busch or someone coming down to be your measuring stick. That's what the Busch Series kind of missed.
He'll go wherever, whatever Junior's doing. He's, I think they're like really, really good friends and really doing a lot of stuff together. And
I think he's still a driver coach, if I'm not mistaken. For
I don't know.
Like the late model stuff. So Josh, overall, what do you think of those races? You said they were probably the best Pocono races you've ever seen.
Yep.
Pocono counts as posse,
Especially the Cup. I mean, especially the Cup. I think the Cup was.
Pocono counts as posse, is what I said.
The Cup race was awesome. That one's always, for one this year, it's back to 400 miles instead of being split into two 225 milers. There's always a lot of strategy to be played out there. A lot of comers and goers. There was a lot of passing, just a lot of, some of the passing is people making pit stops and stuff like that. But you couldn't go a lap. You couldn't go a lap. It wasn't just single file, And there's cars from, you had chunks of the field where it's like, all right, there's single file and the car is like 2 seconds back and they're strung out like that. But there's sections of the field where they're just side by side the entire time. And I don't know if TV caught it that way, but it's from our vantage point, that's what it was. And then, there was 9 cautions or whatever. There's quite a few wrecks, and that really kind of helped keep them together a little bit. But I don't think it was needed.
So either. I saw the thing from NASCAR Man on Twitter. It was an average of 25.8 passes per every green flag lap, which is ridiculous.
I do, and like I said, I think some of the factor is that there were so many different pit strategies going on that so many people, you would get people that were like up in the top 5 that were pitting and then they would get passed. I think that factors into that a little bit.
I would like to see the quality pass data, but I mean, still, it's nice. It's a nice thing to have, and there was a lot of stuff going on. It was hard to keep track of from being there.
Mm-hmm. Without being able to hear what's going on, it was kind of hard to tell.
Because there was 7 or 8 different strategies going on, and I was like, I can't imagine being at the race. I mean, you have no idea. You don't have any idea if you're at the race without watching the broadcast of who's done what when. So.
Yeah, it was. Well, let's talk about qualifying first before we dive more into the race, because there was every single practice session had a wreck for one. William Byron in the first session, Ross Chastain in the second session. Qualifying was fun to watch, and then Kurt Busch in the final round wrecks out of turn 3, which didn't look like a terrible wreck. I mean, it was a hard hit, but nothing out of the ordinary, and ends up getting a concussion and out of the car, and that sets up Ty Gibbs' debut, who Really impressed. I mean, for him to find out as late as he did, never sit in the car before until there was one point when they were going out for their pace laps. We saw the cars, um, coming around the tunnel turn, and then all of a sudden you hear the car going, yeah, out of turn one, and we're like, that's Ty Gibbs. And it was him just getting, he got one turn basically of practice at speed before the race started. So it was pretty wild. I was pretty impressed with what he did. Noah Gragson ran well too in the Collin car, but both of those those were the two most impressive for me all weekend.
I think I was shocked at. I mean, obviously, it's a completely different class, but they were like, all right, you're going to take it easy, just kind of hang out here. They even pulled up the radio on the broadcast where I don't remember who the crew chief was talking to him. He was like, we're going to lay back, and he even told him, he was like, I don't mean right at the back of the field. He's like, we're going to lay seconds back until you get used to this.
He didn't.
And
he didn't need to.
Right.
Because I remember seeing about 5-6 laps in, he was already starting to pass Cole Custer.
Yeah.
I
mean, can we put a little context? Oh, Cole Custer, he was right in front of Cody Ware and McLeod.
Yeah, back of the field though. But that's what I mean. He was already passing some other cars, and then I'm it was lap 5 or 6. He's passing Cole Custer. I'm like, okay, so much for laying back,
I mean, it's probably safer in front of them, though. Cody Ware does.
Well, for sure.
I mean, get away from Spire cars, get away from Smeals, get away from the clouds. It's just what you do.
Yeah, Spire. I mean, that's another one. I mean, they're bleeding money this year.
Yeah, Balicki had a hard wreck, tore that thing up.
Pocono, yeah. Pocono, I don't know. It was fun. It was fun. The car did well there. It was so fun to listen to that car there. That car sounds pretty badass.
Yeah, that's what
you could hear it screaming down the straightaways when they're, I don't even know what gear they're in, probably third. It sounds like you can hear them just screaming off turn one, and you hear it a little shift, and they're still screaming into the tunnel turn. And it was so much different sounding than all the other cars.
Yep.
The other cars you would hear, but this one was just dude, I'm worried for that poor piston getting ready to go flying back to Harrisburg because it was that level of pitch. It was crazy.
Yeah, that was awesome. That was my first time seeing the next gen car, and I didn't realize how much low end it has. You could it was one of those cars where you could feel it in the ground rumbling.
That was one of the few times when were all on track is when you couldn't talk in the infield. Xfinity and Truck, we could have a whole conversation while they were racing.
You couldn't hear shit,
Nope.
which was pretty cool. And I gotta say, there were times, I think it was one of the first restarts, and they're coming through turn one. Now we're in the infield, and we're middle of the track. We're pretty much right between the tunnel turn, between the tunnel turn and pit road, right in the center. And they're coming out of turn one, and Kyle Busch gets loose and shoots up the track. And there was an audible whoa from the fans. The fans drowned out. We're like, what happened? What happened? And then we saw it on the big screen. So that was just awesome to me. That gave me kind of chills because me personally, as a person who lives close to Pocono and loves Pocono and been going there my entire life, I worry about them losing, NASCAR. And I think this past weekend is going to be hard for them to ever do that.
It was to piggyback on that too. That restart, which I'm sure we'll probably be coming up on with Hamlin and Chastain, there was an audible oh, here we go.
People knew.
We were here we go, boys. And then they went down into one. That one went down, same thing.
And it was the same type of roar from the crowd. People were going nuts. You thought you were at a football game.
And it was just oh, you could kind of hear the gasp, and then there it is.
Mm-hmm.
We know what you did. We caught you, bud.
So let's go into that a little bit. Denny Hamlin versus Ross Chastain. When that happened, I'm thinking they're fighting for the lead. I turned back to you, Chris, at one point when they started showing the highlights up on. They
you.
started doing some of the flashbacks to the Denny Hamlin, Ross Chastain stuff from this year. They started showing them like I wasn't even thinking of that. I'm thinking that they're just fighting for the lead, man. It's late in the race.
It was crazy because we were sitting. We had it set up watching the big screen there in our chairs, hiding behind my car in the shade so we could not die. And we made it. It was like, all right, there's like 25 to go. Caution comes out. We're gonna go to turn 3 and watch
the rest of the race. Yeah.
And we were walking over there. I was like, there's a 0% chance if those two are races for the win. This ends like that Xfinity race yesterday. Like we just know that's just not gonna happen.
Right.
Yep. And then immediately next restart, they're side by side. He goes down in there, and you see him just drift up. I'm like, you son of a bitch. It's like
he left them room. Chastain could have backed out.
Right.
But
I'm not saying. I think Hamlin's in the right for doing it, but don't try to say he did it on accident. That was an absolute deliberate move. But hey, bud, I'm not going to wreck you, but figure it out.
And I agree with Nate said it on the broadcast. Like that's old school hard racing. They said it's not dirty. That's just old school hard racing. Mm-hmm. He was racing him hard, and that's
you're either going in the wall or you're lifting.
That's how you get
decide what you want to do.
And Ross knew it. That's why Ross wrecked because one, he's like, oh, this is what's happening. He's putting me in the wall, so I'm going to move up and just wreck myself because Ross is now is where the head games comes in, and this is where Denny's going to win this chess match. Is anytime Ross hears that Denny's racing with him, he's like, is he going to do it? Is he going to do it? And then just probably fuck up like he did. So, genius move.
And I don't think Denny.
Don't just Ross Chastain him. Just go race your race and make sure it's hard on him.
I don't think Denny was consciously thinking it's Ross. I'm going to wreck him. I think he's saying I'm trying to keep the lead. I'm going to do whatever it takes to stay in the lead.
I think anyone else out there, he doesn't.
He's doing the same thing. He's doing the same thing. Trying to.
Stop.
Yeah, he is. He's doing the same thing.
Stop.
He said in the post race or one of the interviews afterwards, he said he was going to keep racing him the same way until he respects him.
Mm-hmm.
Dead center of turn one, he was down on the bottom line all race long. Every car that's done that has
still left him a lane.
Sure, we're not disputing that. We're disputing the fact that he left the bottom, drove up into his lane, and said, "Get the hell out of this lane. You can have that dirty ass lane that nobody wants. I'm getting this run down the long pond." Deliberate, but
maybe he's not as aggressive about it. But
I think it's perfect. That's exactly what you do, though. That's exactly NASCAR right there. You got wronged. What Ross did to him was much worse, for sure.
I don't think it's payback, though.
No, I don't think he's.
I still think Denny owes him one.
He could do that 10 more times, and no one's gonna bat an eyelash because that's just hard racing. And Ross, you did it to yourself. I don't care if Denny does it 16 more times. I don't care if Denny does it for the next 5 years. He touched him, but
because I think the debate is this over now? Because Denny won the race, ended Chastain's race. I don't think it's over.
No.
No, because I think what's going to happen is... Go ahead, Josh.
I was going to say, I would expect it to be over because, I mean, those guys are racing for the lead. If they're doing this shit and they're 25th or 26th, and doing it, that's different. I mean, these guys they're racing for a win.
Denny's no dummy. He's not going to go use his retaliation at someday whenever Ross is like run at 26. Make sure you do it every time he's in the lead. We're making a cutoff race, whatever it is. I don't think you're going to see Denny Hamlin go full Matt Kenseth on Ross Chastain. He's going to kill him like death 1,000 cuts.
He doesn't need to either.
Death of 1,000 cuts. Every time he can, he's going to make it so hard on Ross Chastain, make this debate happen. Because then Denny's like, he's a very calculated, intelligent driver. He knew who was out there. And I can tell you, if Kevin Harvick's out there, he doesn't do that move. If Kyle Busch is out there, he might do it, but doubtful. I don't think he does it to Harvick. I think he only does that move because he knew Ross is out there. And Ross now knows he's already wrecked Denny twice. He can't afford to go in there and hit him again and turn him. At least I would think Ross would think like that. But so he pulled up and wrecked himself.
You get into the playoffs and you're riding around that cutout line. Ross doesn't care if it's Denny or anybody else. He's going for it.
Yeah, that's different. Right now, he's trying to make amends to half the field, so he's got to take one on the chin once in a while.
Yeah, I mean, this year, you get in the playoffs around Denny at all, you better be nervous because he's got to get that damn championship. Or
no, we don't.
his clock's ticking here.
Yep.
Right, but to your point, no, he did not. That's not retaliation. He still owes Ross at least one really meaningful time, but it was not an accident that he drifted up on that car, is my opinion.
I guess not.
Kind of like,
I don't know.
There was a time in a national open in a cartoon race where I maybe drifted up in front of a guy that is a dick, and he maybe died in that cartoon dash. Did I mean to kill him? No, but am I sorry? No.
That's what I'm saying. And when you're fighting for the lead, how much are you really thinking about? I gotta fuck over this other person.
You're not.
You're not at all.
He's just not sorry about it.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
That because
exactly.
he knew Ross was there. But
Yeah,
I don't
just
think
doesn't
he
care
does
what
that
happens
there.
to the guy on his outside either.
And the thing is, like, I don't think he's consciously like, I'm going to go up here and make sure he's races over here. I'm going up here to make sure that I get after this corner well. And if he's with me afterwards, then great. If not, I don't really care. But he wasn't going to put himself in a situation where he was going to go with him. That's something that Ross would do.
Right.
And
right.
he's smarter than that. He did that in a way of Ross isn't going to do this again. And if he does, he's definitely coming with me. But he won't do it because the message is Ross has been getting so much hate mail. He's got to figure it out. So Denny's just playing. I mean, he put a chess piece out when he signed Reddick. So he's playing chess. It's game time, boys.
I wish at this point, I just wish Ross would just pull the Kevin Harvick and be like, you know what? Okay, I'm gonna be the bad guy.
He already basically done that. He goes, I'm here to win. He's just not going to show up for a hood and punch somebody yet.
Yeah, but then when he gets in the post-race interviews, he's like, yeah. He's like, he's so nice about it, it's hard to like him because he's too nice.
I agree.
You got some silly season stuff that's going about, right, Jimmy?
Yeah. Well, let's quickly talk about what happened then after the race. Denny Hamlin wins.
Oh, yeah.
And everybody's leaving the track thinking Denny Hamlin won. We're still there because we're there.
We had nowhere to be.
We're not leaving. We had nowhere to be. And all of a sudden, holy shit, Denny Hamlin and Kyle Busch are DQ'd. How about it? Chase Elliott wins, who doesn't lead a lap all day.
Surprising he didn't. He had a good car, just not that good.
He had a good car, but he was like a 3rd to 7th place car. Him and Kyle Larson won the first stage. They were strong in the beginning of the race.
They needed clean air, right? Yeah.
But they needed clean air once they got down later, in the race and things got mixed up. They had a hard time passing cars. Yeah, I mean that was shocking. First time in 60 years that the winner's been DQ'd. But we kind of knew that was going to happen at some point. We knew NASCAR's new stance was there's no more of this unencumbered shit or anything like that. It's just straight up DQ if they find anything. And what they found was a 2.5-inch, 2 by 5-inch clear piece of vinyl underneath the wrap, which if you're telling me that's giving them that much of an advantage, I mean, I know that they're out there trying to find an advantage, but that's basically, to me, it sounds like they took like 2 cell phone screen protectors underneath the vinyl wrap and put them, that's basically what it is. To say that that's given them that much of an advantage to DQ them, I think is a little wild, in my opinion. Should they be docked for it because it's outside of the rules? Sure. But the DQ, I don't know.
Well, 2 parts here. So on the way up to Pocono, I listened to the Dale Jr. download of Tony Erie Jr. And he talked about if they could find 300th of a second, they were going to find a way to find that 300th of a second. That thing might even only be worth that. And a win is worth that much more. If there's an advantage, they're going to get it. And to think that they're the only ones doing it, no.
No, absolutely not.
I go back to, in order to find that, either NASCAR is incredibly lucky or someone sold them out. And I'm going to go with somebody sold them out, probably one of those Ford teams who got repaid a little bit later in the week. But Ford's been struggling. That stuff goes through the garage. Somebody's like, hey, they're doing this thing. Check there. Just like old school stuff, like with Roush after Hendrick and things like that. Like, usually you find things because another team's like, hey, look in this weird area that you would never look in. You're probably going to find something, by the way. And then you do, right? So I think that's shitty on the garage. And if every car is a spec car, if you find anything, it's going to help you. Now, I don't know how you penalize them.
Does that give them the win? I don't think so.
But I don't know how. I mean, that's not the point, though. The point is...
It is because you took the win away.
But
you took the win away because you thought this was so egregious that it took the win away.
You took the win away because the rule says you cannot modify any part of a vendor piece car, and that's technically modifying it. So if you're going to go that route, then yeah.
It's not modified. It's not modifying a piece. You're adding a piece.
That's modifying a piece of a car, bud.
It's not modifying. It's not modifying. It's adding.
Not modify. Yeah, it's modifying the front bumper.
Though.
And that's all that matters. If they have a rule saying this, and you do.
I mean, it's outside the rule book. Don't get me wrong, but
and you already came out and said we're going to disqualify leaders. Like, what is so if they lose, get the win, get fined $100,000, lose 25 points, or whatever it used to be. I guess they
it's 100 now.
Right, but say they're better off. It doesn't matter to them. They're basically locked into the playoffs because they have the win. We're not doing encumbered wins.
You just took away all their playoff points that they earned.
Right, but they have the win, and that's worth.
No, they don't. Not anymore.
No, I'm saying under the old rules.
Okay.
Win away.
All right.
If you don't take the win away, you
Yeah.
gotta take the win away.
I agree. I get it. They're playing by the.
It's dumb,
They're sticking to the rule book because then we saw Michael McDowell. There was a lot of penalties this weekend. You had all GMS got penalized, and then Michael McDowell got the same
And I think
penalty that Brad Keselowski got early in the season, a pretty hefty one.
And we're halfway through the season. Teams are trying to figure this car out, and they're
Mhm.
seeing what they can get away with. And NASCAR's picking up on this, and they're like, hey, they've probably been warned. I would imagine they've been warned before we get to this level. You have 4 different Cup teams, 6, 5, now with McDowell getting pretty ridiculously stiff penalties for modifying the thing. They figured something out, and it's not an accident. So you have to get Swift hammer, man. Knock him out.
I agree. I mean, I just think to think that to me, I'm fine with the penalty. I just don't think it gave Denny Hamlin an actual advantage. I don't think it was the reason why he won. I think they were the fastest cars all day.
That's the reason.
And I don't think a 2 by 5 inch piece of clear vinyl is going to give him that much of an aero advantage. I just don't. But I mean, it was just kind of like the same thing when they stuck the little piece of tape on and penalized Kyle Busch. No, Kyle Busch when he was on pit road. They put the little piece on. They didn't find it till 200 laps later. Which I get it's outside the rule book. You're not allowed to do it because then it's a slippery slope. But it's not giving them any advantage. Like,
well, I was to say, I think too. Who started at the rear? Because somebody in the same exact part of their car started at the rear because they got caught in inspection doing the same thing. They had to clear. It's a hole on the front corner, and they had clear vinyl over top of it, but it was on the top.
That'd be probably Eric Jones. Yeah, I mean,
so all the Toyotas did it and then vinyled over top of it to try to hide it. Somebody started at the rear.
It was Eric Jones, I think.
Maybe, but even Denny Hamlin failed inspection twice. So
yeah, but that's
they already drew attention. They already drew attention to themselves.
Yeah.
Don't draw attention to yourself, but I guess you're wrecked in post race, boys. Now this week they'll probably find something on Chase Elliott's car.
And I don't think Joe Gibbs Racing. That's racing. You know, Junior talks about it all the time. If you can find an advantage and you gotta squeeze a rule a little bit, or you do it until they catch you. Because winning's more important than getting penalized.
Especially when you already have, if you're Hamlin and Busch,
you have nothing to lose.
And you already have wins. What do you have to lose? They get away with it. Boom, there are wins. If you don't, oh, well, that sucks.
The McDowell one was hilarious. Because on Twitter, he was, after that race, the way it did stand, he was on the cutoff line. He was at 16 right below Truex. And he was like 1 point away from having a shot at making this or whatever, and then 4 hours later,
he gone.
He basically has no shot unless
you basically need 2 races
wins
to try to make that up.
Yeah,
and a win.
Yeah,
and maybe 2 because he's so far back down the list. If that guy wins, he's got problems.
You gotta win. You gotta win to get in now, and
maybe
there's some tracks here where we're gonna see some of that, and we're gonna talk about the playoff picture in the silly season here coming up in a little bit. But yeah, Wild Pocono shook a lot of things up. Great crowd, great racing, very awesome. Anybody else want to add anything on Pocono?
Nah, I'm good. So take a little break and flip it out.
So we're going to take a little break right here, and we'll be back here in about 2-3 minutes.
All right.
Tonight's second place finisher. Plenty of fans here, Brett, and a solid second place finish.
Yeah, I got to shout out the Turn 2 Terror Boys over there. They're all a bunch of good guys to hang out with, talk to. I really like them.
All right, we are back. So, talking more about some of these penalties and everything, shaking up the playoff picture a little bit. We got 5 races left until the cutoff here, and we got 14 different winners, which I still find insane. And you got guys like Ryan Blaney and Martin Truex Jr., right? And Kevin Harvick. Martin Truex Jr. and Ryan Blaney are in like the top 5 of the points. Like if you just did the regular points, and they're on the verge of maybe getting kicked out if they don't get a win here. I'm trying to pull up the NASCAR playoff standings.
I got it on that shared screen if you want.
Oh, you do? Oh, my man. So,
Yep.
there it is right there. So, now that's the point standings as they stand.
Rank it by wins.
Yeah, you got to rank it by wins, I think.
Yeah.
Yep, there it is. See, it doesn't do it, right?
I don't think it changed anything. Yeah, it does.
Hold on a second.
Yeah, Kurt Busch is 14th right now in points with the win.
There you go. Yep. So the Karloff line is right there at Martin Truex. There's a couple guys, though, that haven't gotten a win yet that are threats, especially as we go into, Indy Road Course. We still got Daytona, guys like Bubba Wallace. Eric Jones has been really strong. He's not a guy that you can really sleep on. I don't know. It's just, this is definitely. Do you think if someone like Ryan Blaney doesn't get a win, is like 4th in points, and misses the playoffs, do you think they look at changing
going back
the
to a
points?
real system? Yeah, they should.
I think that.
Of course, you think that.
Well, I think that a lot of these teams. I think NASCAR's being a lot better than they have been in a long time, and they're listening to the fans and to the teams and the owners more than they ever have. But if something like that happens, I mean, all these owners are gonna.
Right.
They're gonna want to change. They don't want to see.
But the problem is TV is the reason we have the playoff format. I don't think the drivers or the teams want that because that adds more carnage when we get to Daytona as a cutoff race. If you want, if we go back to the points as they run, Chase Elliott's up like 100 something, right? So like 2 races. Halfway through the season, this is where you start making gains, and that's what he's done to get that far ahead. And someone like Ryan Blaney would have the rest of the year to chase him back down versus if he were to drop, say we get 16 winners, which I don't see happening unless someone upsets at a road course. I think we almost had that Pocono, especially if that would have went down. Like Harvick wouldn't have got wrecked in that Chastain thing. Look out.
Yep.
But I think that points to the reason why you shouldn't have this going on.
You don't think we get 16 winners?
I think we can. I don't think we will.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we get 15. I don't know if we get 16.
If
I
we
think you're
get
gonna have one person
16
on points.
And I think if you get 16, it's going to be one of those 2 guys already in the top 16, Truex or Blaney.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with that.
Because Blaney, he won the All-Star race, which obviously doesn't help him here, but
He's got speed. So is Truex.
So, I mean, what do we have? We have what? Indy this week.
I wonder if they change it to you got to be in the top 20. Instead of being like the top, you have to be in the top 32 in points. You got to be in the top 20 in points, or the 20 or 24.
Yeah, but
maybe.
now you're basically picking your field because you know who's going to be the top 20 in points. You won't have a Cinderella
no,
story.
you still got to no. I mean, you still got to make the 16,
Right.
but you can't have a win and be 26th in points like someone like friggin' Austin Cindric is, or whatever he is, or
That sounds like a band-aid for the actual problem is having the format in the first place. A win and you're in format. By doing that, you're setting up. You want an Austin Cindric or a Corey LaJoie to win Atlanta so they get into this playoff because it's a cool story for whatever reason. I don't know. Something's got to change, though. I mean, I don't think this goes on. This is an anomaly. I also think so, too.
yeah, I do. I think this is out of the box.
New car. I mean, there's a lot of. It's probably one of those rare times where you have a lot of young talent and a lot of good equipment
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of seasoned vets still in good equipment.
Yeah.
Like Trackhouse rocked the boat by coming in and winning with both their drivers. Kurt Busch coming in and winning. I mean, that was not a shock, but kind of a surprise a little bit. Reddick, we knew he was good, but RCR's been not.
Chase Briscoe.
Briscoe.
Austin Cindric. I mean, yeah, good equipment, but
There's
they're
four
guys
spots right
that are
there.
those are guys that are finishing 20th every week.
Yeah, there's 4 spots between Ross Chastain, Suarez, Cindric, and Briscoe. If you had told me they'd have a win at this point in the year,
I never thought Cindric would.
take it or leave it. Right.
Yeah.
I would never. Like, we know Suarez is a good driver, but like a win, I don't know.
See, I mean, track out the Suarez Chastain going into the season, nobody'd be like, yeah, they're gonna win. They're gonna
If
get
you
some
told me
wins.
Ross had 2 wins, get the hell
Right.
out.
Mhm.
And neither one being on a super speedway, get out.
Well, Ross is going to go into the playoffs right now, as you see it right here. He'd be number 2 seed.
Right.
You know
he has
what I
enough
mean?
playoff points. That first round is basically a bye for him unless he goes full bad luck.
Or Denny Hamlin luck.
Now
Oh,
after Pocono,
That's called make your own luck.
Suarez got a 3rd place. All of a sudden,
Yep. Oh, he was running well there all
Suarez
day. He
is
was in the top 10.
He's top 10,
Yeah.
top 15, but he was never like if you had told me before knowing how good Trackhouse was this year that we were going to do that, I would have been kind of surprised, to be honest.
Right.
But now we know Trackhouse, they seem legit. Like we're first quarter season, bunch of good racetracks. They came out pretty good. Now it's every week, if not both. One of them's up there. It's not a fluke anymore.
Josh, can you scroll down a little bit? Let's look at some of these drivers right there at the cutoff line. So, do we think Kevin Harvick can get a win and get in? I think so. I think they're showing more speed lately.
I think
they're
they're
I think
close. They were
he
close
had
this
one at
week.
Pocono get away from a little bit,
Mhm.
right? Like Josh said.
We got 2 more road courses on a super speedway. And then what are the other 2 tracks?
Haley, Chris Buescher at a road course.
What are the other 2 tracks left? I don't know.
Yeah, I was saying I don't.
Let me look it up.
I want to say Richmond's one, isn't it?
I think Kevin Harvick. I think he gets him one still. But I'm like you guys. I think Eric Jones is a wild card. I think he could get one anywhere.
Right, that team's consistently. I mean, they're a few mistakes away from.
And honestly, he hasn't been
So,
great lately. But Austin Dillon at the beginning of the year, if they could get something together, he could sneak up and win one.
Nah, I don't think so.
Here we go. So we have Indy road course this week. So of these guys, I could see Michael McDowell. You never know.
I was gonna say McDowell.
Is still in there. Buescher was good in Sonoma.
Yeah.
And he's been the better of the 2 Roush Fenway Kozlowski cars. So who knows? I mean, you never know, right?
Yeah.
Eric
yeah.
Jones is decent there. Then you go to Michigan.
Okay, Michigan's the other one.
So Michigan,
I could see Eric Jones stealing one there.
yeah.
Keselowski's had some spurts here lately where he looked. I mean, they looked terrible all year, but here lately, it's all of a sudden it's like, Keselowski's top 5.
Right.
Richmond,
Steel City Demon over here, David Smeal over here says Stenhouse and Buescher are always threats at Daytona.
right? I mean, everyone's a threat at Daytona, but Keselowski, if I'm Keselowski, I'm circling that Daytona one.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you got yourself back in the top 30. You were bad fast there in February, even if you were going to plow hitch to the front, but it's fine.
Bubba
I'll see.
Wallace.
I mean, Bubba Wallace, but I kind of think Bubba Wallace is the play. He could go win the Michigan. He's good at Michigan.
Mhm.
He's won there in a truck series. They have speed now.
Yep.
So we can agree that Bubba Wallace is most likely not winning Indy. He's not winning Watkins Glen. That's just not going to happen. That's not what he does.
Unless pitch strategy or something happens.
It's not going to happen, bud.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. Don't count them out completely. Shit
But
happens.
Michigan, Richmond, I mean, they struggled at Michigan or Richmond, right? The first time. Was that one of their really bad races? That's
I don't
Toyota
know
as a
if I
whole.
remember.
Either way,
Yeah, they
But
were
you go-
bad at that whole stretch.
Michigan, Richmond, and Daytona. Any one of them, I would put Bubba as if things fall right, win. Michigan, I think if they unload with the right speed, he'll be right there for sure.
I think Daytona's definitely the race that he has circled to get in.
Right,
There's a lot of these guys.
but they all have
Justin Haley, man. I mean, like he's 22nd at points. He's been pretty decent.
Put him on a super speedway.
Put him on a super speedway where he won before. I'll be, because of rain. But
Yeah, I was gonna say you take like 18 through 26.
any one of those guys could win.
Those guys all have the same date
Now-
circle.
second wrench. As far as guys, if they are in the playoffs, if we get one winner or two to get us a 16, that of these guys that aren't in it, they
Say
get us up-
Blaney and Truex finally win a race.
right, and that's what that's 16 drivers in.
That would be 16.
Now,
then.
from Christopher Bell on, are circling Daytona.
Yes, because
necessarily
now you
everybody,
need another
more
win to
so-
stay in it.
Not so much, maybe not Christopher Bell and Kyle Busch, but you
Suarez,
never know.
Briscoe,
Points wise, I don't know what the
Bowman.
points are when we get there, but these guys at the cut line.
Denny
with Cindric,
Hamlin.
Bowman,
Because Denny Hamlin right now is the guy
he has 2 wins,
that's
though.
out.
No, he has 2 wins.
Oh yeah, that's right. He has 2 wins.
Yeah,
But
is-
still,
He's most likely safe. He is safe. He's in.
hmm
These 1-win guys,
yeah. These guys down here,
and,
like
and that's
Riddick,
where Kurt Busch
Busch.
needs to.
Yeah.
They need to figure out. And that might.
how is this going to work with Kurt Busch with Ty Gibbs in there?
Well, Kurt Busch is eligible. He has a waiver.
Okay.
But if he falls out of, if he's the lowest running point guy come cut line, and there's 16 winners or 17 winners, he's out because he's not earning points.
I think
So he's
Cindric's.
safe.
I think Cindric's the guy that gets knocked out.
I mean, Bowman they haven't been great. They've
No.
That's been a rough year for them.
Right, but you're talking about who's gonna be 16 in points going into Daytona if you have 16 winners. That's the guy. I mean, you're talking to Daytona could be a straight Royal Rumble, right? Between non-winners, winners, whoever the hell. Like, imagine if Ryan Blaney's the first guy out, right?
Well,
And
yeah, I
it's
mean,
just-
how
say
many
there's
of these
16 winners and he's the first guy on points out. It's like, damn, you gotta win, bud. Figure it
Mhm.
out.
how many of these non-winners go out and win Daytona and jump points on how many of these winners up here if they get a
That's what I'm saying. I think if a Bubba Wallace or an Eric Jones wins at Daytona, or even a Justin Haley, you're going to see someone like a Cindric or a Briscoe out
Yeah,
Yep.
but points
'Cause
wise, they're behind Cindric.
right now. But I think the way the trend has been going,
Yeah, but how far behind points are they?
not that much. I mean, you have Eric, Briscoe's at -300, Cindric's at -292, Bubba's at -369, so 69 points behind. That's not.
Race and a
That's
half.
yeah. But if you win
But
one, and the
Two road
way
courses
it's,
for Cindric.
hmm
But I mean, I see what you're saying. If I'm Bubba, I'm trying to win 2, to be honest. If I'm
yeah, for sure.
if I'm any of these guys without a win down that way, I'm trying to get 2 wins, or go into Daytona as the 16th winner.
Kurt Busch right now would be 17th. That's
Right.
Right.
So he's the only guy with a win behind him. There's no one now, right? Except for Denny, who has 2.
hmm
Denny.
So Kurt Busch right now, I mean, I know he has to take care of his health first and foremost, but
hmm
that's how he gets eliminated. Now, from what I was reading from Pockris earlier, if he's the 16th guy in and he's still not clear to come back, he keeps his spot until he's
Right.
eliminated. So that's, I mean, good for him.
which is strange
If,
because
I mean, I've seen some stuff on Twitter, just here and there, if he comes back, this might He's already hinted about retiring. He's talked about retiring. I mean,
Yeah, it could be
who
it.
knows what's going on? I mean, medically, it's got to be pretty bad if they're,
2 weeks in
especially
a row.
you follow football. They get a concussion. They go through concussion protocol, and by Tuesday, Wednesday, before a game day or before Sunday, they've got to be through it. But I mean, if they're already calling it out, he's not even close to clearing his concussion protocol.
But they could also be doing it as, hey, Ty did a pretty decent job last week. You're already in the playoffs. You get a waiver.
Let's not do this quick.
Let's get you fully healthy, and let's give Ty another run at the cup card so we could see what's going on. Maybe put a little pressure on Kyle Busch. Not saying that's what they're doing, because I am not questioning Kurt Busch's health at all. I'm just saying if there's any question on it, I'm holding him out another week.
That would be
And I'm
move
playing that game
to leverage
Yeah.
Kurt Busch against his brother.
And it's also, I mean, it's Joe Gibbs. They could be. Hey, here, look. Let's let him run here, so it doesn't cause any rift between our organization. Well, guarantee you, there's some backdoor money changing hands there, saying, hey, we'll help you out with this or this, and
There's
just
more
let him
than
run
backdoor
these
money. That shit's going right through the front and the ceiling.
But that's a good way
Still
for
come out of water.
him to get some experience without creating a shockwave in Gibbs
Right.
racing.
exactly.
And I think
Which is why I think if there's any question to Kurt Busch right now, that's why he's being held out.
I think
I think if the
probably
playoffs start
transition that,
next week, kind of like football mentality, if the playoffs start next week, he's probably racing.
Right.
Let's just transition to silly season stuff. This playoff race is gonna be wild, but it's so early.
Yeah, that's kind of what this all ties into is the silly season stuff. I mean, we're still the one tweet that NASCAR put out of Joe Gibbs giving Kyle Busch a nice old pat on the back, and Kyle Busch just completely ignoring him. You're right there, bud.
I've been chronic. It's fine. It's been like 8. You know, it's like 8 months of this.
The Ty Gibbs, where it's Kurt Busch going stuff is really heating up. Also, what happened since we were away was 2024. Tyler Reddick is going to 2311 Racing, not next year, the year after. In a very, very strange move because we never seen that before. Where he's coming in 2 years. That's and for RCR to find out the way everybody else did is kind of suspect, I think, at to say the least. So we have that. So we have an opening potentially at RCR next year if RCR says, you know what, you're already leaving, let's just get you out of here.
Well, they're gonna do this for the
So
organization
what's
now.
your thoughts on that, there, Josh? If you're RCR, what do you do with Tyler Reddick?
Well, if
What,
I was
Ty-
RCR and RCR looked the way it did now, I would sell RCR to Junior. Well,
Maybe.
if I wasn't going to do that, especially after I looked at social media today, I'd throw a whole lot of money at Kyle Busch.
What if you don't
Do you
have the
thi-
money?
Do you think Austin Dillon stays in the car?
I think
I
he
don't.
does.
I think if RCR sells, he doesn't stay in a car.
Oh, if
Absolutely not.
RCR sells, no.
Junior ain't keeping that schmuck around.
Yeah,
Nope.
exactly. You go build a real team.
Figure it out, yeah, but does Junior Motorsports go throw a bunch of money at Kyle Busch?
I have seen some stuff
That's
too.
some FU money right there.
Multiple
I
things.
don't think Junior
about-
has that in his business plan. In his business plan, Kelly's intelligent. Kelly Earnhardt is not going to go throw the woodshed at Kyle Busch.
But I've seen a lot of stuff too with.
Don't give me that cockeyed face, Jimmy.
They wouldn't be throwing money at him. He'd love to go into that car. He doesn't have sponsor backing, so
Right. So who's funding the car?
Junior could fund the cars by himself.
But figure it out. He has to race a race a year to fund that Xfinity team.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Junior only has to go step into an Xfinity race one race a year to,
It's like the whole program.
Yeah, that's what I mean. He gets so much backing. And Smeal brings up a really, really good point because I was about to say this too. How would that affect Junior Motorsports as they are the Hendrick feeder, not
So-
RCR? I know they're with Chevy, but
So from what I read, or not read, what I heard on Dale Jr. last season when they were talking about when Junior started this whole thing of maybe we go cup racing, Kelly filled in for him as the host. One of the episodes, I think it was, basically said that would obviously end that relationship. They wouldn't be the feeder team with Hendrick. They would have to be on their own, stand alone away from Hendrick, because the cup rules 4 cars and all that stuff. They'd have to be on their own. And they already talked to Hendrick about what that would be like. So they have to be a separate entity from what she was saying on that podcast then. And she would know best. She's the one dealing with all the books and everything like that. But still, they would become the second Chevy team. I think that affects Trackhouse more than Hendrick.
Yeah, no. I don't think
second,
so. I think Trackhouse
third
has
Chevy team.
I think Trackhouse brings in enough money where they're all pretty equal.
But you don't want to be that third Chevy team.
I don't think there's a 1, 2, or 3. I don't think there's a ranking there. It's not like Toyota where 2311 is getting the second rate stuff. I don't think there is. I don't think it's like that anymore with the next gen car either.
You're right.
With
now,
everything being with everything being so spec, Hendrick's making this for the entire series, and Trackhouse is making this for the entire series. That's how this works. You know what I mean? So I don't think there is a 1, 2, or 3.
You're right. It's not as exaggerated as it used to be, where you could look at like Hendrick, and that's why Stuart Haas, part of it was they wanted to go to Ford so they could be the second instead of the third team at Chevy. So it was there, but you're right. It probably doesn't matter as much now, but
I don't think so.
To the same point, look at Trackhouse, and they do stuff so different than what we've seen in the last couple of years. New manufacturer comes in, I wouldn't put it past Trackhouse to jump on Dodge in a heartbeat. I mean, the Trackhouse might not always be a Chevrolet team.
But
they do stuff so much different.
Right, they're a Chevy because they have the Ganassi assets, but also it's a bold move. I'm Stuart. If I'm a Ford team, I'm getting out of my body and going to a new one because they've suffered a lot in this new car. But to your point, Kyle Busch.
I still think they have the drivers. I mean, you take them, put them, and split them down the middle. You put the Ford drivers and the Chevy drivers. You're going to pick the Chevy almost every single time.
Got a talent problem. Yes. Yep. And they got some. They got none. They got nothing. After Harvick leaves, you have Briscoe, who's good.
Briscoe's pretty good. Don't sleep on him. You have Blaney, Cindric, Logano's still pretty decently young. Chris Buescher's still a talent. Coming up through the ranks, you got who? Haley Deegan, Riley Herbst, Zane Smith. Zane Smith, I think, would probably be the top one.
Could be their guy.
What I was going to say here, it's another good reason. The reason I believe that Kyle Busch goes to RCR so much is I've seen it multiple times that Kyle Busch Motorsports is talking with Ford. And then all of a sudden, look at all these truck guys that you might have in the Ford pool coming up. All these, Ben Rhodes.
I think that's something that probably has to be in Kyle Busch's deal. Is he has Kyle Busch Motorsports right now, which is a Toyota affiliated organization. If he does jump organization, so would his team. So I'm sure that's a talking point. Like, all right, does Kyle Busch does he want to fold? Does he really want to fold? Does he want to pull Brad Keselowski and be like, you know what?
Yeah, it worked out for Brad.
I'm going to fold this. Well, it worked out for Brad because he ended up owning a cup team later on down the line. Or are you going to change over my truck team? Is that something that Kyle Busch even wants to go through right now?
Still,
maybe he wants to get into the bigger picture,
think about that.
Brad Keselowski did.
Say he does that. All those drivers for KBM are signed with Toyota. You can't just. I mean, Toyota's
but for how long? I mean, we've been seeing them jump. We've been seeing them jump.
Drop like a Chandler Smith right now, or John Hunter who just went over there.
Yeah, but they can't keep them all either. They don't have enough rides for him up in the Cup Series.
True. Yeah, figure it out.
So, yeah, figure it out, man.
And something, I mean, we've talked about so many times, the Xfinity Series, the Truck Series is just inundated with all this talent, and there's nowhere to go.
Mm-hmm.
Ford has a talent problem. These Ford teams have to go get some of these guys that aren't running Fords right now if they want to be competitive the next 5-10 years.
But
Ford's
they have
problem.
No reason to go to Ford right now.
If it's a ride.
If they throw money.
Right. I mean, that's it. You have to overpay because those cars are slow.
I think if you're a young driver that is in between, you know, you're not the golden star of a manufacturer. You're not a Ty Gibbs for Toyota. You're not a Noah Gragson for Chevy. You're not the Zane Smith of Ford. I'm looking at Ford because there's a lot of aging talent that are getting out of the Cup Series, and you'll have a ride probably quicker than a lot of these other guys will. You
Also,
got
just to argue the fact on Fords being slow, there's still more Fords in the playoffs than there are Toyotas.
there's more Fords in
field.
general than Toyotas.
Right.
Counter argument denied,
Yeah.
bud. It's like 5, 6 Toyotas. 5 of them are in the playoffs. Figure it out.
Well, they're cheating, obviously.
Look, if I'm Kyle Busch, you either have to swallow your pride. If I'm Kyle Busch, I'm swallowing my pride and staying at 18 car if I want to win races. Now, if you want to go prove your whatever, I mean, burn it down. Go.
I
go
think
out.
Kyle.
I don't know what I'd want to do though if I'm him.
That's what I'm saying. He's got to figure out what he wants for himself. I think that might be something that's holding up any deal that's getting put into place. Obviously, he still wants to go out, be in a competitive car, and win a title, but he's got to realize that if he doesn't now, he doesn't have M&Ms anymore. He doesn't have all that.
The money's not there, man.
He's been going into like doing the energy drink stuff. They're bringing his kid up. What does he want? He's been obviously looking at setting himself up outside of a racing career.
Right.
So this next move I feel like is a lot like Keselowski's. Like, this is setting you up. Maybe you're not going to win a ton of races, but you can be the star of a team and have something after racing. Because I don't see him going in the media. You know what I mean? I see him if he's going to stay. I don't see him disappearing from racing completely. I see him staying in racing somehow, and it makes sense for him to be part of. And I wonder if Denny Hamlin kind of already took that spot, like, oh, I'm the team owner affiliate with Toyota. So now, what do you do?
Why not go buy RCR?
Why not go with RCR? Why not go with Stuart Haas?
Go buy an RCR, downgrade.
No. Buy RCR?
Buy into the way Keselowski did with Roush.
No.
They're trending downstairs.
No.
Just saying.
Or merge with Junior.
The hot takes.
JRM,
Like
ABM.
Junior ain't doing that.
You got to have a good relationship, and they don't have that.
They've never had that.
Exactly. There's no way. I mean, I know they made amends on his podcast or whatever, but you got to have like a business, some type of a business relationship, and I don't see them doing that. I see him going with somewhere maybe like Stewart.
I thought about Stewart too, buying Stewart out, because I've heard that rumor. And where we hear that shit at? Pocono Midfield? Probably true.
Probably.
Stewart's selling all the shit. I don't know. But still, why not go to like an RCR? It's a struggling team outside of Reddick. For years, they've been struggling. Negotiate a contract to drive that 8 car or that 3 car or the 33 car, whatever you want to bring back, and do a Keselowski. Take the step back and just build yourself for later. I just don't think Kyle Busch thinks that way when it comes to racing.
Right. He wants to win, and then when he can't win no more is when he's going to jump out.
The only car that's worth him driving that's not in the Gibbs is a 9 car or a 5 car, and he ain't getting either one of those.
No.
That's the only 2 cars comparable to
or
what he's got.
A third track. I keep saying it. Third Trackhouse car. He'd fit perfectly over in that team, man.
Right. I mean, I don't disagree. I think that would be the
They're
best
already looking at bringing in a third car next year. Why not make it full time?
Yeah, I just
Or
don't see
Colleague.
Trackhouse doing that too. I mean, right now,
Or
Chastain
Colleague.
put Trackhouse on the map. Are you
Right.
going to bring Kyle Busch and make Chastain's second fiddle?
That's where I think Colleague comes in. Colleague's hyper aggressive, and we talked about it before with Colleague. They're crazy. We thought that was kind of where Gregson was going to go, but I'm not so sure anymore because they have their own. They have that second charter. It's just a rotating door. They're aggressive, hyper aggressive, and then Dale Jr. Download yesterday threw that idea out there to kind of talk what we talked about a month ago, where it fits the mold. That'll put them on the map. They don't have Justin Haley. He's a good, solid driver. He's their Daniel Suarez.
Mm-hmm.
They need someone to come in, and a rotating driving door doesn't work unless the next guy is AJ Allmendinger. It's not going to work. You need to
even if it's AJ. AJ's still good, but he's older.
Doesn't want to. Right, he doesn't want to. You need somebody to come in there and be that guy that lights the fire to Justin Haley more so. That makes him go here, kind of like Kurt Busch to Bubba Wallace.
Sure.
Not even light a fire, but give you the bar to work
Mm-hmm.
at. Kurt Busch is a professional now that he's cleaned himself all up and everything like that. But yeah, I like Trackhouse. I like Colleague. If I'm Kyle Busch, I'm looking at both of them. I don't think I go to SHR, even though that sounds the most promising.
I
If
think
Harvick is gone,
I think that's where he's going. There was a rumor about Gene Haas being there, and I would imagine that's probably why he was there. They need, because if Stuart Haas doesn't, I don't see them running 4 cars. Like, Almirola's going to retire at the end of the season. They have no heir apparent to that car. Now there's talk about Almirola maybe not retiring, which Almirola's good, but I mean he's just going to be another midfield car for you. I don't even know why would you want to do that other than him bringing Smithfield.
I was saying, I don't understand that. Like, Smithfield has to be a pretty huge sponsor. If like,
if you look ahead to what's 2024, who's available then? I don't know, but maybe there's somebody then that's more appealing to Smithfield.
Zane Smith.
Someone
I think Zane Smith comes in next year somewhere.
maybe.
I mean, he's
maybe
been
that's the deal.
dominating the truck series.
Smithfield's trying to. Who knows?
I don't
Contracts
know.
are weird, and
I don't know,
weird.
especially these 4 guys. Because here's the thing,
Haley Deegan. It's not even close.
these
No.
4 guys, they're like a younger class. You get rid of Harvick's gone. Both Bush brothers are gone. Truex retires. 3 or 4 years from now, the old guys then are going to be Laney, Logano.
Yeah, but they're not even that old. They're still.
I don't know. It's a mess. I know when it opens, but I think could end up being the domino that triggers a lot of other things. Because Gibbs' worry was Ty Gibbs ready for the next level? We thought about it episode 1, 2 through 6, I think. Is he ready for Cup? The longer he stays out versus get there quicker. We just saw him do it. He's ready. Put him in the damn car.
Put him in the car.
So now you just gave Joe Gibbs an extra. He had pocket aces, and now there's an ace on the flop. Like
Ty Gibbs was always going to go to that 18 at some point. That was going to be his ride. That is the family car.
And now why?
Now the door's wide open. This is the
Boom.
time to do it.
What basically Ty Gibbs just did is tell Kyle Busch to fuck off. Like, take your deal. Like, if you're Kyle Busch now, you lost all your leverage.
Yeah, and I think too, like with the 18 and getting Ty Gibbs, I think there's a reason that I think that there's nobody will ever know the truth. But in order to take the 18, it's just like the 3 with RCR. They have to disenfranchise Kyle Busch from the 18. What's the best way to do it? Get M&Ms off of it. That you've got to disenfranchise the 18 from that car.
Yep.
And what are they doing this year? They're swapping them all around. You've got an 18 DeWalt. You've got an 18. They're changing a lot of stuff, and they're disenfranchising. I think Kyle Busch probably feels like they're taking the 18 from him. Like they're taking the 18 that he built, and they're changing it.
Right. And the more Ty Gibbs does what Ty Gibbs is doing, the more Kyle Busch is like, writing on a wall, bud. You can do a lot of great things. You have a few more years of going, but they don't need you. So when do you get with your buddy Denny and be like, hey, can we just get the ball rolling over here quick? I don't know. I don't know if it's ideal for him, but it might not be how this plays out.
I don't know. There's so many spots where he can go. A lot of these teams got to figure out what they're doing. I think what you're seeing is some of these newer teams like Trackhouse and even Colleague to an extent come in, and you're seeing some of these 4-car teams that aren't able to keep up to task. Not to keep all, like Stuart Haas can't keep all 4 of their cars in the playoffs. Joe Gibbs is having a hard time doing that alone too, and maybe they start downgrading the 3-car teams, selling off those charters, and some of these other teams start becoming, you have more 3-car teams than a 4-car team and a 1-car
Which
team.
would be better for everybody, I think. More parity a little bit. Like you talk like bringing Junior in, that'd be great. But he's not going to be a 4-car team. That's nuts. He's going to be a 1 or 2, building it up. Colleague would like another one. I don't know. Going to 4 in a hurry is a good idea.
No, they just need a second full-time driver to begin with.
Right. They need to worry
But there's
about
going to be my point was that there's going to be charters up, I think, in the next 2-3 years, and maybe that's something that Kyle Busch is also looking at too, getting it with the team that's going to buy another, being co-owner, whatever. I don't know. There's a lot of rumors out there, a lot of crazy stuff. RCR posted something earlier today where it's a silhouette of somebody and an announcement for RCR. To me, it looks like it's Austin Hill. A lot of people are saying Kyle Busch. I don't think it's Kyle Busch. I think it's Austin Hill.
I love when they do. It's like that. Name that Pokemon back in the 90s. The episode, it was like a little shadow thing,
So
like who is this or whatever, and the internet's going wild with it.
And so, what does Austin Hill? To me, it seems like if it's not Noah Gragson going in that 42, which if I'm Noah Gragson, I don't want to go in that 42. I'd rather race to. I think he goes to Colleague.
That's where I would have chose if I was him. If I
That's
had
what
my
I'm saying.
choice.
So I think I'm thinking Tyler Reddick goes to that 42 for his gap year. You got Austin Hill coming into that 8 car, probably because he's kind of the future of that team. Austin Dillon, I think he's only got 2-3 years where he's like really the star of that team, and then he's got to go. I mean, it's probably too long already. Not saying that he's a bad driver or anything, but
Here's the
if you want to be a premier team still and be a playoff team, you cannot have Austin Dillon as your number one. You just can't. You got to have somebody else. He's not the guy. Tyler Reddick was the guy, and now he's gone. So you got to find somebody else. Yeah.
Fucked up. Fucked up, Ron.
So you got that. If RCR isn't going to get, it's either Gragson going to RCR, which that doesn't look like Gragson. It looks like Austin Hill. Reddick goes over to 42 for a gap year, and then maybe Gragson into the Colleague car. To me, that leaves Kurt Busch going to Stuart Haas.
Kyle, right.
Or Kyle Busch, yeah. Sorry. I don't know where else he goes.
If you're Dale Jr., Kyle Busch, I think you're right. If he's not going to do one of those things. If you're Dale Jr., who do you open your cup team with? I know who I would do it with if I'm Dale Jr. One car, 1 year?
Not Kyle Busch.
No, not Kyle Busch. Justin
No,
Allgaier,
Gragson.
boys. No, I do Justin Allgaier.
No.
He's going to not tear your shit up,
No.
most likely. I mean, Gragson's a close second. Maybe I'll go 2 cars, get them both in there.
I would do Gregson.
I mean,
I
Gragson's
would do Gragson over Allgaier.
I mean, I think this was a huge weekend. Gregson won this race in the fashion he did at the perfect time for him. Because everybody's saying, hey, somebody get out of the way for Ty Gibbs. Somebody get out of the way for Ty Gibbs. And he went out there and just beat Ty Gibbs.
Mm-hmm.
Gragson definitely helped himself a ton.
Yeah, I just don't.
It's too murky. Everything's so murky. We could have 7 shows on just the murkiness of
Right.
I don't
everything.
think Kyle Busch goes to one of these lesser teams. I think he'd rather go somewhere like Stuart Haas. Even though they're on the downturn, they're still a premier team.
Right, they're still a premier team.
They're established. They're down for them, but you know what I mean. But they have right now. They have 2 cars in the playoffs. Or no, one. They have 1 car in the playoffs.
Right, and
They only have
Harvick's
Briscoe.
been running great. He just had the terrible luck.
Yeah, bad luck. Bad luck. But been running well. Almirola's actually been pretty decent too. So I mean, that seat is open. Nobody's talking about that seat being open. Like,
But Kyle Busch is not going to go run second fiddle to Harvick either.
But what's first? Like,
I mean, he does it to Denny Hamlin. Oh, kidding.
I just don't think it matters what team you go into over there. I don't think anybody's getting better equipment than anybody else at this point.
If he takes his crew with him. I mean,
No.
if Kyle Busch takes his right.
Yeah,
He's not going to go over there and get, he's not going to walk in and
I think
take
if he's going to SHR, the crew doesn't matter. The crews are all their own thing. I mean, they matter. Like the pit crews matter, sure, but Gibbs crews are staying at Gibbs. What he needs freedom of is picking his crew chief. I don't know who he would go get.
Yeah.
Because
I feel like he fits in with them more over there. Kyle Busch can go be Kyle Busch, classic Kyle Busch over at Stuart Haas.
would be like, hey, be Kyle Busch.
Go be Kyle Busch, man. Yeah. be an asshole. Get this team going. You know, like it's,
Yeah,
that just makes the most sense. Him
Tony
going
Stewart
to that
and Kyle
10
Busch
car.
together would be legit terribles.
And if Kyle Busch is what? He has rowdy energy and doesn't. I don't know what other sponsors he even has at this point. But Stuart Haas, they have team sponsors, kind of like Joe Gibbs, and then they could sponsor themselves. I mean, Haas is on that 41 car almost every week. You know what I mean? So
There's got to be like 4 other types of lawn tractors out there that need something.
Nothing runs like a deer.
yeah,
Coyote,
Mahindra.
Kubota,
But
Bobcat.
Bobcat.
I see that happening. All right, real quick, let's go into previewing some iRacing stuff tonight. And recapping, I guess, from last week. We got Full Throttle over here. Last week. We can't
That's too
see
small.
it. Yeah, it's a little too small. Hold on, let me maximize it. There you go. David Salter with the win last week. Stan Mayberry in second. Josh, you got to run in this.
Yeah,
Tell us
it's
a little
our
bit
first-
about it.
It was our first inaugural race of our new league. We've many of us have still have decided to take our talents to South Beach.
South Beach, boys.
We're running a new league. It's I'm excited for it. Looking forward to it. A bunch of good group of drivers. Like top to bottom, probably a lot stiffer competition than what we're used to. But I'm excited for it. It's good clean racing, good clean fun. So
Making my debut tonight.
Yeah, same
got
here.
Kentucky Speedway tonight, and we'll see.
Yeah,
See
David
how
Smale,
fast
you
these
know,
boards are.
2 laps down because he's David Smale, you know.
Yikes.
He said he threw away a chance to win last week. Well,
He did. I
that's
watched it
part
live.
He
Part of
100% did.
of the course for. I'm kidding.
Good for
But,
David Salter, though.
yeah.
He's a good dude. Love
Yep.
seeing him win. He's a
A lot-
firefighter outside of Baltimore.
Cheers.
Respect to him.
And so tonight we go to Kentucky for round 2 of that race. And
Turn 2
Yeah.
Terrible is in 4th place in team points right now.
we're about to take that over tonight. So let's,
Yeah, we'll
let's
help
get
you
it.
out, but you get your buddies back. Let's have some fun.
And that's really going to do it for this week. We got, next week we'll be back. We'll talk about NASCAR Indy. We'll catch up on some dirt stuff. Before we go, we got to give the shouts out. Jeremy Zarfos Photography. And out here,
Boys.
we'll talk about this a little bit more next week or on the next show. World of Outlaws came to PA when we were at Pocono. This is the start of one of the features. Jay-Z with the fire. A lot of good stuff happening in Posse Land. A good showing against the Outlaws. Friday night was a 1-2-3 for the Posse. So Jay-Z out there Jeremy Zarfos out here getting all the photos to record that for us. But that's going to do it for us this week, guys. It was very NASCAR-centric, but there's a lot to talk about there. And thanks for watching and for Turn 2 Terribles. You guys want to say anything before we
It's going to be a lot. There's going to be a lot to talk about here in the future. I mean, we're getting close to playoffs. We're getting close to finding out where some people are going to be going next year. There's going to be a lot of empty seats that don't make playoffs. We're going to see some seats open up. So we're getting very close to a lot of
real
things.
And
happening.
also on the dirt side, I mean, we got Knoxville Nationals coming up in 2 weeks. We got Month of Money happening. There's a lot of stuff to talk about there. So a lot more content coming your way, guys. Appreciate you guys being patient with us as we're just trying to get this off the ground here. So we really, really appreciate every single one of you that subscribe and like and watch us and come and join us in the stream. Thanks, Smeal. I know we bust your balls, but thanks for, participating with us.
Yep.
We're going to have some more guests on in the future and everything. So thanks. We really appreciate it, guys.
Instagram and Facebook. You're trying to crank out social media work there. We suck at it, but we're figuring it out slowly.
Damn right.
Fire that guy.
FDS.
FDS,
All right.
boys.
Till next time.
Big City
Peace.
Slams.
Big C Slams, boys.
Tonight's second place finisher. Plenty of fans here, Brett, and a solid second place finish.
Yeah, I got to shout out the Turn 2 Terror Boys over there. They're all a bunch of good guys to hang out with, talk to.